If you are new to fish keeping, this may be very helpful for you. But if you are a pro and you have experience, you may want to watch and maybe we can learn something new from each other. In this hobby, we will learn from our mistakes. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This one is a very important topic. I'm going to talk about mistakes that we all make. One of my coworkers recently asked me, Jose, why are my fish dying? And I started asking her a series of questions, and there were about 8 things that I said, well, I was making fun of her, and I said, well, you are killing your fish. But we're going to talk about that now. So my coworker asked me, Jose, why are my fish dying? I keep adding fish, they die. I add more fish, they die. So I asked her a series of questions. I wanted to get an idea more or less. And I said, what kind of fish do you keep? She says, I don't know, they're very colorful. And I said, how much do you pay for them? She says about $10. So I said, okay, you have Blue Tetra. I said, yeah, I think that's what it is. My husband it's for my little girl, but my husband really takes care more of the fish. So I asked her, how often do you feed the fish? And she says, I don't know, maybe once, twice, and probably overfeeding. And she says, my water is always very murky. So that's one of the problems, right? And I said, well, you probably, water's murky. It could be a couple of reasons. It could be a new tank syndrome, which is a common that tanks sometimes will be a little cloudy at the beginning. Her tank is 6 months old, so she's beyond that point already. Overfeeding is a very common thing. Even my daughter, with my mother, I set up the tank. I asked her, what did you tell grandma about the feeding the fish?
That you're feeding it too much food.
Now, this is at 5-year-old. She's now 7, right? Almost 8 in January. So she was able to, at 6-year-old, to realize that her tank was cloudy because she was feeding the tanks too much. So she said, Grandma, you're feeding too much. So overfeeding is a common problem for murky water. All the foods that the fish don't eat, it will fall down to the bottom. Unless you have bottom feeders that can probably take care of that. But even then, all that food is going to pollute your water. The more nutrition and the more contaminants you have there, it will make your water cloudy. You can have bacterial blooms also because of excess food also. That can cause that too. And water changes is one of the things, regular water changes is one of the things that can help you with that. But don't overfeed the fish. One time a day, maybe twice. You feed a little bit. If they don't eat the food in 5 minutes, then all the food sets down to the bottom. So feed enough food that they can eat within 5 minutes. Okay, so don't overfeed. The next question I ask is, at what temperature do you keep your tank water? She says, I don't know, tap water temperature. I said, well, aquarium fish, tropical fish, they should be generally between 78 and 80 degrees, 82 degrees, depending on the type of fish that you're keeping. But it's a very narrow range of temperature. She says, because a lot of the times when I put the temperature, when I change the water, they're at the top, they mouthing at the top, they gas. It looks like they gasping for air. I said, well, what happens is when your water temperature is too high, oxygen is released from the water. So the water carries less oxygen when the temperature is hot. Water does not retain too much oxygen. This is also physics laws on this. So if your temperature is too high, fish will be gasping for air at the top because the oxygen content on the water is very low. So it's very important to have a thermometer on your tank and make sure that your temperature is appropriate. If your tank is at 78 degrees, make sure that the water that you're adding to the tank is at least within a degree of your current temperature. But too hot water is not good for the fish, obviously. Too cold water is not good either. So keep the temperature in that narrow range. Another point that I asked her is, when you add the water, your tap water, do you add a dechlorinator? She said, no, we don't put anything. Chlorine is added to lower bacteria in our drinking water, in our water system. Sometimes during warm weather, they would add more of the chlorinator. So it's important to add the chlorinator because there's chlorine and chloramines. They're things that are added to the water to make it safe for drinking for us. Every time you change the water, you got to use the chlorinator. I like using Seachem products. There are other stuff by API and Fritz Aquatics. You could use whatever you like, but they get my choice. I've liked Seachem products. I use something called Safe. Okay, this is in powder form. This is 1 liter. 1 liter bottle. This goes a long way. It's a powder form. You cannot use Safe and pre-mix it and then add it. It has to be used on the spot. The same thing, again, by Seachem is Prime. This comes in a liquid form. You add it as is according to directions per gallon. But I like Safe because I have a lot of tank. I use a lot of it. I change water frequently. So I found that Safe is a lot more cost effective for me, and it'll last you a lot longer. So that liter will last me a long time. But you gotta use the chlorinator. It doesn't matter what brand you use, but you wanna make the water safe for the fish. Chlorine affects the gills and it will definitely kill them. So use the chlorinator. All right, this video is going long enough already. I will do this in 2 parts, 3 parts. It's just a lot of information to cover. I noticed that some of you do watch the videos, but you are not yet subscribed. Please like, subscribe, and please share if you find that anybody is interested in fish keeping or just interested in looking at fish.